Today on Listen Up, when hits to the head spark concussions and a national debate on the need to change the game. That's next. Welcome to Listen Up, the show that explores news from a Christian perspective. I'm Lorna Duick. As Canada's national game of hockey went into playoffs, fans, coaches, players, and parents found themselves taking sides on a controversial issue that's dominated headlines for months: headshots. They sometimes lead to concussions, and concussions can lead to brain and spinal injuries. Are they a barbaric, dangerous practice that should be banned? Or are they all just part of the game?
Headshots are need no place in the game, and even this year there's been more concussions than ever.
I think that's part of the risk of hockey, is the head injuries and the concussions and everything else. I think it's gone on forever, and it's going to be violent. People like to watch violence.
I mean, I wouldn't want them to, you know what I mean, for my enjoyment to get a concussion.
Because you've got players who are suffering concussions. You have the most touted hockey player out now and probably not going to be playing for Pittsburgh during their run for the Stanley Cup.
No, I like the game of hockey the way it is. I think we need to be more aware medically of what's going on with concussions. I think that the NHL specifically is taking steps towards that. The OHL has always been at the forefront of that. I think the game itself is great. I think the players have gotten bigger, and maybe we should look at larger ice surfaces and more friendly equipment.
It's almost like, it's WWF wrestling or something like that. It's dangerous for children. It's dangerous for the NHL players.
Plenty of opinions on what's wrong with Canada's national game, but today we'll talk about the concussion controversy and how it affects our children. We'll learn about baseline testing to protect kids in sport. We'll also hear from a leading medical authority on the issue of concussions. First, hockey great Paul Henderson is a grandfather now, and that's giving him pause for thought about the impact of concussions.
Well, it's my grandchildren, obviously. I have a 9-year-old that plays AAA, pretty good level of hockey, and I want them to be able to go out there and enjoy their game and not be worried about getting injured.
We'll hear more from Paul later in the show, but first, via Skype, Keith Primeau played 15 seasons in the NHL before he was forced into early retirement as the result of one too many concussions. Keith, thank you for being with Listen Up.
My pleasure.
Keith, you were captain for the Philadelphia Flyers and were forced to retire in 2006. How did you know you needed to leave the game?
Well, I'll tell you, it wasn't an easy decision. For the better part of the year, I put myself in a position to try and work myself back into the lineup, and that was trying to stay in shape, riding the bike, going out and skating on my own, and ultimately when I didn't recover or didn't heal fully, the decision at that point became very apparent.
How do you feel, Keith, about the attention game concussions are finally receiving?
Where we're at as far as the National Hockey League, and more importantly for me, the grassroots level is still in the infancy of truly understanding the severity of this injury and really the proper protocol and how to handle it.
You coach your own sons now. You started Play It Cool and developed a baseline testing for kids' concussions. What is baseline testing?
Baseline testing, it's called impact baseline testing, and basically it's a standard by which gives you your baseline relative to some simple tasks. There isn't a success rate or a failure rate or a comparison to others. It's strictly your baseline. And
baseline testing helped you keep your son safe when he had a concussion?
Yeah, and for me, it kind of epitomizes and is this whole kind of environment in a nutshell, and that, here I am 5 years removed from my last concussion, ultimately forced me into retirement. My 13-year-old this past fall suffered his first concussion, and we followed protocols: keep him out of school, get him rest, don't allow him to play video games, we kept him home for 3 days or almost the full week, and he's bouncing off the walls. And my wife and I are looking at each other like, this is crazy. Why is he here? Why is he home? And only to take him back and have his baseline administered, and to discover he failed that miserably. And that was a real eye opener for us, because again, to truly understand this injury, I don't know if we're anywhere near where we need to be.
How widely used is baseline testing for concussion safety?
It's down here in the U.S. It's become much more prevalent. Many of the high schools around the country have established impact baseline testing mandates. Several of the state legislatures have begun mandating impact baseline testing for all athletes, especially at the high school level. So it's down here. It's garnered tremendous support and is very mainstream.
So what is ingrained in our competitive spirits that makes this issue of concussions in sport so challenging?
It's the culture. It's how we're bred, and you know, even after going through my entire ordeal, sadly, people ask me if I knew then what I know now, would I change my course? And I can't honestly say that I would. And that's saddening, because I don't know any different. And I think that is the cultural makeup. You know, we put credence on people's toughness and their bravery, and at the end of the day, you know, true courage is having the ability to stand up and say, I don't feel right, I don't feel well, please give me some help.
In all those dark days of recovery, did you discover anything from God?
You know, the Lord has always been prevalent in my life and in the life of my family, so I can't say that, you know, I found God. I turned to God in my time of need, and certainly through my ordeal, it was comforting to know that I had a strong relationship with the Lord.
How did your faith impact your recovery?
I tried to look at the situation as the cup is half full as opposed to the cup is half empty. You know, I had the opportunity, I was extremely blessed to play in the National Hockey League for the better part of 15 seasons, and I had no regrets, and I have, you know, a beautiful wife and 4 children, and for me to be home and have the opportunity to see my children grow, and there was a silver lining.
Keith Primeau, thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you.
Up next, we'll hear from a man who is an expert when it comes to head injuries, but first, we hit the ice and spoke with some up-and-comers for their thoughts.
Knowing who's on the ice and where everyone is, and keeping your head up and keeping your head on the swivel when you have the puck, so that if someone does try to come and hit you, you're not going to get injured or a concussion.
Keep your head up and look out for big hits, and make sure you're always ready for them.